I had the pleasure of coaching Josh Kefauver with GILZ. And I begged him for the last probably 6, 8, maybe 12 months to present, but this is a very good time for him to be up here and tell his story because we're at a pivotal point with his company. So I'm excited for Josh to come up and share his story. Come on up, Josh.
Thanks, Lisa. And as Lisa mentioned, it's been a long time coming to be able to present. I arrived in New Mexico in 2018, and this was the first spot I came to in my introduction to the makerspace and incubator community here, which is so broad and so many resources, and I'll talk about those today. As Lisa mentioned, I'm Josh Kefauver. I'm founder and president of a company called GILZ. It's a New Mexico-based company, and it's designed. We do clean helmet systems for head protection, and I'll talk today a little bit about the origins of the company, as well as some of the challenges we're having in our business model that we're working on right now.
May have to help just the first time. Try the down arrow.
Okay, there we go. So I'll talk about the problem, but first, I think this slide really shows the origin of where this originated. So prior to forming GILZ, I spent most of my career living and working in developing countries for the State Department and also for a startup company in water and sanitation. So that top right picture that you see there was a common scenario for me. I've always rode my motorcycle back and forth to work. During commutes, there's no emission standards in most of the countries I worked in. So I ended up with chronic respiratory issues and tried to find a helmet. I thought surely there's something out there that, a helmet with a filtering system, it seems kind of like a no-brainer. There wasn't anything out there. And that was about 10 years ago. I filed it away. And when my wife and I moved to New Mexico in 2018 for her residency, I decided to give it a go and started building the product. So what is the problem, and does it only apply to motorcyclists? Well, no, it also applies to wildland firefighters. I've met a lot of hot shots that say they only use wet handkerchiefs when they're out fighting fires. I've worked in Afghanistan with our men and women in uniform, and I've seen the kind of things that they encounter out in the field. So why is it a problem? So fine particulate matter is an issue because it gets into our lungs and into our bloodstream, and it causes cardiovascular and respiratory issues. And people often tell me, well, the U.S. has clean air. Well, you may not know that 40% of Americans are living in areas with unhealthy air. The Southwest, in particular, is probably one of the worst parts in the country due to oil and gas and wildfire soot. So what are people doing now? Face coverings, we all remember from COVID, some of the pros and cons of those. It has to have a good seal. If you have facial hair, it often doesn't have a good seal. It could cause fatigue. So if you're wearing them over prolonged periods, it can cause physical fatigue. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So what is the solution? So we have two products. One is the Clean Helmet, an homage to Sandia Clean Room, which some of you may know is, if you've ever been in a surgical ward, is a system of laminar airflow. So basically what it does is it pulls in dirty air and blows it over the visor. And so one system is an integrated helmet and the other is a kit, which is a more affordable kit. And after the presentation, if you want to come see how that works, I'd be happy to show you. So we're disrupting the industry. So there's nothing else out there like it. We just received our patent in September for the product. As I mentioned, the aviator kit, and yes, it kind of does look like a Star Wars Imperial pilot helmet, and that's intentional. We put a lot of effort into that. It's both of the products are DOT, designed to be DOT impact, meet and DOT impact attenuation standards. That means basically that they detach at a certain level of impact. So for the safety's sake, especially for motorcyclists. So it's been proven. So one of the huge resources that I mentioned in the beginning is the New Mexico Small Business Assistance Program. And through that program, we were able to get proof of concept testing at Sandia Aerosol Labs. It was proven to be 95% efficient in keeping out harmful particulates in the aerosol chamber. We've also received support through NMSBA from Los Alamos for validation and verification of the system. And through that, we were able to downscale the size, weight, and power, meaning our battery size, our fan size, through those efficiencies. I think I've already mentioned that it's designed to meet DOT standards and that we also got the patent, which is great news for us. So two key insights on the helmet. There's nothing else out there like it right now. We're the only ones that are making this kind of product. There's some similar medical products, but they're not for head protection. The global market size is actually the sizable addressable market. So at the 20%, that's 4 billion based on yet another NMSBA grant program that was done by the Arrowhead Center. So we looked at a number of metrics like ridership, helmet laws, number of urban size, and purchasing power. So based on that, we narrowed it down to about 13 countries, including the EU, US, and Japan. So that's what that market looks like. We would like to start in the US. That is a picture of the clean helmet vertical markets. And other than recreation, we're looking at wild and firefighting, combat, as well as safety, which includes construction and industrial helmets. So the first sort of line there is the US sizable attainable, which is the 5%, because I feel like that's a more realistic. It's actually not even probably realistic, but it's instead of giving the overall total addressable, I like to use that. And below at the bottom is the global market size. So our business model, we're looking at direct to consumer for the aviator kit, which is the more affordable kit. That's something we think we can actually produce and make here in New Mexico. And we're starting with the crowdfund campaign. I'll talk in the challenges section about the challenges we are having with the crowdfund. We're in pre-campaign stage right now and having some issues with the platform. The other business model is business to business. So for the clean helmet, I don't have any aspirations to start a helmet company. I would like to partner or license to an existing helmet company for the clean helmet. Similarly, with the combat helmet, looking at government funding and grants, DoD has a number of accelerator programs and grant opportunities, for example, SBIR and STTR. Similar, I just received a market analysis for the wildland firefighter helmet industry from a local consulting firm here in Albuquerque called -2 Labs. And so we're still going through that, but there's a number of opportunities there, such as a FEMA grant, as well as SBIR. So for the team, it's me, the founder, and again, I do have some experience with a startup company. We specialize in water treatment and use the carbon credit model for our business model. AJ Mirabadini is the fractional CEO. He helps out a lot with advising and digging me out of the rabbit holes that I tend to go down on the technical side, and feeling like it has to be perfect before I can put it out there. And then my R&D engineer helps bring my ideas to life. We just recently hired a local marketing firm that is helping with social media. We just only 2 months in for our Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So here we are to the challenges, and this is where I could use your help. So anybody that has any crowdfunding expertise or similar would be super helpful. So one of the things the challenge we encountered is that we're told sort of what we were to expect as far as marketing up front in order to get the advertising out. And then later on, it turns out they were adding 10%, 15% for pre-launch marketing ads. So that really cut into our margins. And so we're kind of left, after we have our page built and everything set up, it's kind of frustrating. So we're thinking of shifting back to web sales for that and just DIYing it, or shifting to another platform. And then common, I think, need for many small businesses is staffing. So we're looking for interns who could help us with some grant writing for those other verticals that I mentioned. Social media, that's really not my cup of tea and kind of the last thing that I want to be doing. And then monitoring of our website and crowdfund site if we do go that way. Manufacturing readiness. So, we're looking into molding. We've already got a few quotes, and that's for the aviator kit that we're looking for, producing that. Right now, we're just 3D printing, which is not realistic for when you get beyond 100 or so. It gets kind of tedious and takes a long time. And so what I would ask for you is help spreading the word on our social media accounts. And then anybody that you think would be interested as an end user or any potential partner or investor, that would be fantastic. So thank you. And I wanted to just give a shout out. I think I saw Mike Murphy come in. Oh, there he is. So Technology Retirees for Economic Catalysts. Mike was one of the first, and this is a group of retired Sandia employees, and they help small businesses like mine. So, gosh, I think it was back in 2018 that Mike and I met, and he helped introduce me to the community and so on and so forth. So good to see you here. And others are C&M Ingenuity, who helped out a lot with advising and other resources. UNM Engineering, I had a few interns through them. So, and then of course, Fat Pipe again and 1 Million Cups have been great for making those awesome connections. So thank you.
We'll take questions here. I'll also keep an eye on chat so we can take questions from those of you online. You didn't name, I'm going to ask the first question, Lisa. You didn't name the crowdfunding company that you're using, and I would like the people to know, in case they've had experience with this company or alternatives potentially for him, because I know it has been a challenge.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, it's Indiegogo is the name, and they're one of the more global. Kickstarter is probably the most common that you've all heard of. Indiegogo is more global. They probably cover the majority of the countries in the world, which is why we went with them. And they also had a couple of similar products that were successful. One of those being a product called Break Free, which is an add-on brake light that goes on the back of the helmet. And I think they raised maybe $250K in 2017. So that was really what brought us to them, is to get the word out. So the goals of crowdfunding aren't just to raise capital, but also to basically do quote free marketing. So as I mentioned, we were willing to sort of pay up front for digital ads, which is what we were told we could do. And then later they said we don't qualify for that, and said that instead they're going to charge 10 to 15% on any sales directed to our page, to our perks. And we thought, well, how do you differentiate for the sales that we direct ourselves versus what they do. So basically, we figured it was going to be another 15% cut from our margins, which we did not build in. So
Thank you.
I'm Paul Sutter with Equiseek, so thanks very much for a great presentation, and I'm sorry you kept quiet for so long. This is quite interesting. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm sure you have the answer because you have a great team, but I think it's for the benefit of everyone else here. Have you worked with the Manufacturing Extension Partnership?
that's a great question, Paul. Yes, somewhat. I've met some of the team and had some discussions. And in fact, one of the more recently, I mentioned the wildland firefighting helmet analysis that was just recently done. There was a grant called the EDGE grant through MAP that we actually tapped into through that. So that in that sense, I have, as far as the actual figuring out resources for manufacturing, less of that. So I would like to get in. I would love more resources about that.
I can also suggest to you a firm called Protolabs, great for prototyping. So, you know, like on your way up to injection molding, and they could just see, have you designed this for manufacturing at scale or not? Get advice. So advice that you get on building the first prototype is entirely separate from manufacturing at scale, as I'm sure you know. But thanks again.
No, thanks, Paul.
So I heard that you had a patent already. It's- Oh, sorry.
And go ahead and introduce yourself too. Okay.
My name is James Gumta. I'm a student at C&M, in the data science bootcamp. And I have a question about what you're going to do to keep those big businesses like Amazon from stealing your idea.
Thanks. That's a great question, and it's something that keeps me up at night. And I'm not naive to think that a patent is going to do much good for a small company like mine. So one of the strategies for the B2B for us is to go after smaller or mid-level helmet manufacturers instead of going after Bell. I did use a Bell helmet for my prototype, but and I may talk to them, but I think the idea is that we would go to a company that wants to differentiate from the market and give them that piece of the GILZ tech that would help with that. But I'm trying to avoid China as a place that we really, get into. But other than that, it's just try to, not reveal too much when we're doing the guts of the system. But it's honestly, it's pretty intuitive how it works. But we have a Gen 2, I'll just mention real quickly, that is an automated system. So that uses a particulate matter sensor that would automatically kick on the system. So when you encounter PM 10 microns, it activates the system to come on, and there's an app with it. So we're still working on all that stuff as well.
That all sounds really cool. I think you said that we could look at them after the questions, so I'd like to do that. And also, now that you have that in mind, I'm wondering what specific job descriptions you have in mind for interns.
Looks like it's got a whole.
Yeah, looks like good to see all the C&M folks here. That's great. I think I mentioned it, but if you're interested in doing some research and digging into those other verticals, that would be very helpful. If you have any experience with grant writing, or if you don't, just having someone to help. I do have experience, but having someone that can assist me with that would be super helpful. And then if you're interested in the tech side, we could always use just regular assistance around, looking at how things can be improved.
Thank you, sir. Just let me know whenever I can come up with that.
Was Mel Franklin.
Hi, perhaps this is not really part of your vision, but I was curious, and also just thinking it would be a broader market if you thought of a really much lighter weight model that could be, looks like you have. I'll just let you take it from there.
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's one of the challenges we have is that I think I mentioned that we had some support from Lannel to help us with the efficiency and downsizing our battery. Battery and fan are the most heavy components in the back of the system. And we've managed to get the whole system down to 1 pound. And we'd like to go even less than that. Most helmets now, the shells are made of carbon fiber, so that has taken off a pound or pound and a half of just the helmet itself. So we're still hoping to get that down more and use carbon fiber for our, components, for our materials that we have.
Cool, thanks.
Good morning, Josh. I'm John Patrick. Got a couple of small businesses that I'm developing: musician, art, Enchanted Lands Music, and Amazing Life, developing wellness products. So I did the IoT boot camp last year for rapid prototyping. And when I saw that helmet, I was like, the force is strong with this one. And anyways, no, I mean, it looks really cool and badass. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about developing the prototype. And then is this version that you have here ready for sale, or is it still kind of an iteration before going to market?
Thanks, that's a great question. It actually is. It's a working prototype. As far as ready to mass produce, that's where the crowdfunding we're hoping to raise, I think it's around 70K. Paul mentioned Proto Labs. We have gotten some quotes it's a US sort of manufacturing company, kind of like the Amazon of injection molding, I guess you could say. So we're going to need to raise about 70K at least to be able to do that. It's just not feasible to do it 3D printing in quantity, but yeah, we spent a lot of time trying to make it look good and aerodynamic. So we want it to fit with the aerodynamics of the shell and also give a little bit of the fishy kind of GILZ and Star Wars look to it. And then I mentioned, I think that it's detachable. I can show you guys how the system comes off. So every piece on that, at an unfortunate accident, I think it's around 11 miles an hour, is where the system is triggered. Everything's triggered to come off. So in other words, it won't wring your neck if that stays on, then it adds more ergonomic issues.
So what is the price point of like how much does it cost to develop one unit currently? And then what is the projected cost for resale?
No, that's a good question. So right now, if you find we're 3D printing all these parts, including the face piece air curtain. And I can't remember if I mentioned it, but it's basically like your vehicle defrost. So that piece basically blows air up into the visor or down, depending on the product. But we're looking, I think it's around a little over $100 to make, and that includes everything. And then we're retailing it for $249 right now. That's kind of what we're looking at for the crowdfunding campaign. But that'll come down once we start doing the injection molding. We have an upfront cost, like I said, of 70K, but then you're looking at pennies to dollars for each part.
So did you wind tunnel test that unit with the helmet?
With my leaf blower. So that's yes and no. I mean, we just put a lot of thought into it, and I had a design firm that helped me with this as well, called Spec Design out of California. And so they kind of helped with the shape and the aerodynamics of it.
And you said you have two products. So what's the difference between?
That's a great question. So one is integrated. Can I step over here, Lisa, to show?
You can,
Yeah,
and
okay.
the people online can't see them, so I'm going to turn the camera a little bit.
So this is the integrated original version, which has a duct system inside of the helmet that blows over a visor air curtain. And you can kind of see it underneath there. So that's integrated into the helmet design so that it doesn't impact the integrity of the shell. And then the back piece is designed to come off at impact, so it's magnetic. So that includes the fan and the battery and the filter. And so by magnetic, I mean, so when we tested the magnets to see at what level, how strong we needed them to be. So I'd often drop my helmet off my bike. And so I didn't want it to come off if my helmet falls on the ground. So we basically kind of use that as a guide. So that's the integrated system. And this is the kit which you can fit on any full-faced helmet, so it's more affordable. And like I said, everything's designed to detach. Instead of the visor air curtain over the visor, this comes underneath the face piece. And it's held in place by a neck barrier on the bottom, so it's Velcroed. And that holds everything in place, and it keeps the dirty air from coming up underneath the face piece as well.
Like a fake mustache.
Yeah. So I guess I mean, I could ask a slew of questions, but I'll just ask one more. So, I don't currently ride motorcycles but they do make the smart helmets now with the HUD, right? So can this also integrate with that, or does that need to be?
Yeah, there's companies that kind of have the patent on those, and that's certainly something that we could look at. I mentioned briefly that the Gen 2 version, we want to have it automated and built in, so that the PM sensor would be in the face piece, activate the system to come on, and I think that would tie in really well with the smart helmet system, so you can basically see what your air quality index is.
Right.
And the big picture part of the Gen 2 is that right now, NASA and EPA and others have static towers. Well, NASA's kind of the satellite, but EPA has static towers across the country to measure air quality, but there's a lot of gaps in that system. So if you picture having something like this out in those rural areas where people are riding and they can feed basically a dashboard where air quality data is fed back into that system, that could really help with the data that we have for air quality, especially in wildfire areas.
You've got a long.
Yeah, okay, maybe they can, one more.
We can talk.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You're popular, Josh.
Hi, Josh. You and I
Yes, we
saw
did.
each other outside. You know, I've got an Italian performance machine that'll go from 0 to 60 eventually. So what about dry eye? You got this curtain coming down in front of you.
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's one that, okay, so here's another, and I'm giving away a lot of our tips or our future tech, but another homage to New Mexico, we're looking at evaporative cooling system into our helmets, especially for wildland firefighting. So essentially what that would mean is, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the swamp cooler, having a evaporative cooling pad in the system that filters, but also injects that moisture. So in that sense, that would help with the dry eye part.
I think your retail price is pretty competitive with high-end products, so you're in a good place there. You know, I got to go to Europe, and Spain and France both have scooters up the wazoo, and apparently you're forced to wear a helmet there. Are you looking at that market?
We actually think that motorcycles and e-scooter folks might be our early adopters, just because they tend to be more health conscious or environmental conscious. So even Harley Davidson has the live wire e-motorcycle now, so that might be something to look into. We're going to start checking into that.
Well, and I was literally talking about gas-powered scooters. They're a huge commuter vehicle over there. They're like, you know, probably outnumber cars in certain places. Summer comfort. I don't wear a helmet for a variety of reasons. One of them is it's too damn hot in the summer.
So the other part of the system that we realize is it provides some cooling as well. So, you know, obviously if you're going more than 30 or 40 miles an hour, it's not going to counter that. Yeah, it does. But so yeah, it does still provide some cooling. And like I mentioned, if we get the evaporative cooling technology integrated into that system, that'll provide that additional cooling that system will do.
I was thinking I might like your helmet on one of these 100-degree days when my scooter is going 60 miles an hour and I feel like a chicken in a convection oven. With regard to your crowdfunding, what are your premiums? What is your premium structure? How are you promoting it besides letting Indiegogo do it for you?
Yeah, so we're very new to social media, so I've been trying to get folks to sign up and promote. We've been promoting through that. We had a pre-launch event at a local motorcycle themed coffee shop called Sunday Service. a couple months ago, I guess it was. And so we're going to try to keep doing sort of going back to focusing on local first. And I think another lesson learned is that we need more testimonials. So like, rather than just me like wearing it and doing a video that's mediocre, by the way, we kind of went cheap on the video, and that's an area where we can improve as well. I didn't mention that earlier.
One of the things I wanted to suggest is that you find a couple of big, powerful anchor sponsors. This is a thing I did at a local crowdfunding where we got some big players in the thematic space to be some of our principal crowdfunding partners. So that really helped with the marketing quite a bit. And then again, I sure hope that if I'm contributing at the 250 level, I'm going to get a helmet. That's one of the questions I want.
Oh, yeah. So for those that aren't familiar with crowdfunding, it's kind of a way for products that aren't mainstream to take flight, no pun intended for the aviator. But there's various perk packages within that. So the lowest one is around $50. It's like a concert t-shirt, nowadays, and you get a sticker and a t-shirt to contribute. And then it goes all the way up to, I think the top package is around 400. And that includes the merch and t-shirts, hoodies, hats, stickers, and the kit.
And the kit.
And the kit, yeah.
Okay.
And the trick there is that we have to raise enough to make the
Right.
darn thing, so.
Yeah. I still have some crowdfunding money that I paid to a company that makes a foldable bicycle helmet that has yet to come to fruition. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brooke Nutting with Abdullah Professionals. And my husband and I used to ride dirt bikes, and our helmets were different sizes just because of nature. Will they interchange on those? And is there an option for a kid's size helmet?
That's a great question. So the tubing or the clean air delivery hose that goes around the side is designed to be adjustable. So like you can adjust it for the longer motocross type style helmet, as well as the neck barrier is interchangeable. As far as the rest of the system, it's pretty much the same and designed to try to fit with those helmets. Like I said, we're still trying to downsize the weight of that. So I would not probably recommend it to, under a certain age right now, just because it's probably a little heavy to add to a kid's helmet.
Good morning, Josh.
Good morning.
I appreciated your information and the way you laid it all out there.
Thank you.
I have a leading question before I make a suggestion. I think what you're saying is you want people to get the filters because it will increase the desire to wear a helmet. Would that be partly true? Because a lot of people don't want to wear a helmet because this all messy stuff.
I think the cool factor is what might get. I'm hoping that the cool factor might help get them to wear it more than the clean air or the anti-fog, because a lot of riders have that issue more than they have the clean air issue.
Okay, good. Thanks for clarifying that. I'm Dr. Norm. Brain Health with Dr. Norm. I'm in the dementia advanced business. I'm always doing everything I can to educate people about dementia. I know motorcycle helmets don't have a thing to do with dementia, but here is a couple of factors you can add if you really want to add a little bit of pizzazz to this. But the Lancet Commission in 2024 published an article from the Lancet Commission is a prestigious medical journal publication. If it's in the Lancet Commission, it's gold. They say that there's a 45% risk of developing dementia with a variety of modifiable risk factors. 2 of those are related to your helmet. 3% of the risk factor is air pollution. 3% of the 45% is air pollution. Another 3% is traumatic brain injury. Guess where you get traumatic brain injury if you don't wear a helmet? So somewhere in your advertising, if you think about it, you go to the Lancet Commission and you can extract those 2 little things there. Here's another reason why you need to wear this filter, so you can wear your helmet and reduce your risk of air pollution and getting traumatic brain injury.
Excellent. I appreciate that. I had read about the dementia connection. It's fascinating. And, you think about the retired Harley riders out there, so that might hit home with them. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm David Danneman. I run Rosetta Design Group. We do protein engineering and protein design in the biotech space. My primary experience with social media is as a consumer, and Facebook has decided that I like the motorcycle reels. And so my main thing I wanted to share is it seems like getting in touch with an influencer, and then you can get, all over the country, worldwide, those kinds of things. And then, I'm sure they go to gatherings. It's almost, people are gonna flock around the big influencers. Have you targeted any influencers that you think you might be able to get in touch with? I don't even know how to go about that.
No, that's a good question. I follow GILZ follows them on social media, and the idea was that we would try to get some traction on crowdfunding before approaching them. But, I'm pretty reticent to pound pavement and go talk to people, and it's just not my nature. I would rather be at the bench working on that. But it's a good point. I mean, I have a friend of a friend who knows Keanu Reeves, who's a big motorcycle. So my dream would be to get in touch with Keanu and have him promote this, because he's kind of a humanitarian too. So who knows? But no, that's definitely a way we could boost our, promotions.
How many people do you have wearing them currently?
Just 3, so right now, and part of that is just because it's expensive and it takes time to get the system built in-house. You got to do the electrical and the soldering and, the 3D printing of every part. It takes 5 hours per part roughly to print. So, but yeah, we need to expand that more. And I would love if anybody knows a writer that wants to try it out, we can talk to them about doing testimonials.
Thank you.
Let's find him Keanu.
Yeah.
Hello, Miriam Ortiz-Pino, More Than Organized. I think you're missing a big opportunity with the crowdfunding to not have a higher end thing. $400 is only 2 helmets.
Right.
And if you had some sort of an event that, like you said, you've already had a local event at Sunday service. What if you had another launch party at Sunday service and had the artists do some paintings of fast helmets or speed themed things? And then you could have a higher level, like 5,000 or 10,000, and they win the art as well as the helmet and the t-shirt and lunch with you, or a ride with Keanu, or, whatever you can get. But I think you're really missing out on that upper end. I was ready for you to say top level $40,000, and you said 400, and I was like, wait.
Yeah.
There's opportunities for an event and experience there that I think you might be missing out on, because that's what most of the crowdfunders do. There's like 1 or 2 people are eligible for the higher level, and then they feel like they're part of the startup process.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. And I just always assumed that it was like WeFunder and, the community funding that was for that. But okay, that's great to know. Yeah, we did do the margins, like I said, to cover and make some profit on the perks. But we didn't include that 15% additional that they were kind of tacking on to us. And and we weren't great about promoting the launch event, I think, and part of that was because we're so new to the social media deal, and we didn't really put it out there. So that's on us, but I appreciate that getting it out there more would really help.
And then one more thing, my cousin used to work for Harley Davidson, and her partner is an ex-firefighter, and they both ride to Sturgis several times a year. So I will connect them with you for maybe some testimonials and tryouts and video potential.
Awesome. That sounds awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning. Great presentation. I'm JJ with Johnson Brothers Tiny Farm. We make the best lotion you'll ever put on your skin. But I want to speak to you from my capacity in the automotive and motorcycle industry. I was in that space for 25 years. My dad worked for BMW, the motorcycle, the Motorhead. And he's very involved in the adventure rider community. I think that community in particular, they're riding all around the world, dealing with the same kind of things as that upper right picture that you had. So I'd like to get you in touch with him. He may be able to, to just help think through getting, getting that funding from, the crowdfunding, as well as, just in general, kind of get some traction for you. Yeah, absolutely.
So that sounds awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. And you're right on track as far as I'm thinking. I'm an adventure rider myself, and
Okay.
I used to have a BMW. I have a Triumph now, but
Okay.
but that's the market that I think is also something that we need to talk to more, and we're lining up meetings with BMW in Santa Fe.
Okay.
As well as here to talk to them about interest and traction. Apparently, they're a very finicky group, which I kind of know that because I am a little bit about my bike and my tech, and so it may be a hard group to tap into, but I think it's definitely worth looking into, and I would appreciate that connection.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you a bit more about it.
Great, thanks.
Hi, Steve Cuomo, Santa Fe Fashion Week and Beyond Energy. We got some Beyond Energy Greeks back there, so if you're interested. So I think it is a perfect product for Shark Tank. It's about that. I mean, that'd be a great way to raise capital and something like that.
Yes, but not me. I need somebody else to ride that horse for me, but
Do it, Josh.
yeah,
you can do it.
I could be the guy that stands on the side and very quietly. No, there is another, I mentioned earlier, the product called Break Free. So they did a crowdfunding with Indiegogo in 2017. Then they were on Shark Tank in 2020. And I think Mark Cuban and maybe Robert both invested in them. And now they're going pretty viral. So it took a long time, which gives me a little bit of hope because I started in 2018. And so we're just starting to put the baby out there to let people see it. And part of that was the patent and the IP part. But yeah, eventually, let's see how if we can get some traction first, but that would be very cool if we could do that. Although I heard Mark's leaving, so.
And just the last thing, I think really, I mean, raising venture capital is one thing, but I think really just making them phone calls and going after the helmet companies, and that's gonna really be your direct raise focus on that stuff.
Yes, I agree. And that's not my strong suit of pounding the pavement. So I'm looking for help in that area as well. So.
Thank you. Sure.
Last question.
I'm Julian Sumis with I'm an intern with the city of Albuquerque in the economic development sector part of it. Yeah. Have you ever thought about trying to go for the younger audience? I know a lot of people my age who are getting into the whole scene of bike riding, and if you're able to show investors or potential investors that people of all ages are going to be using your product, that it's safe for everybody. And I understand that, yeah, it's a little bit on the heavy side, but a lot of these guys are well built, and when you ride a bike, they're very safe with it. And I've seen a lot of huge groups of kids who come together at the gas station, like 20, 30 bikes in one go. And if you're able to maybe present those to them and show them that you could have fun, but also be safe at the same time. And if you go through your social media, I know how you just started, you could be able to reach a wider audience by doing that, because they're going to end up telling their parents, because more than likely their parents ride bikes as well. And it grow and expand through social media like that. And you could show that you have a potential with all ages, and you're able to reach an audience that most people aren't able to reach at this point in time. When you're going into social media a little bit late, it's gonna be a little bit harder to gain that sort of traction. So if you're able to gain a little bit of traction with the younger audience, and it sort of pass on, which is usually what I see with a lot of companies like this, is once they start and actually start going with the younger audience and showing them that everything is good with their product, it would expand. They're going to tell their friends about it and their friends about it. And hopefully it's going to go your way.
No, that's a fantastic point. And I think it's an area that we could improve on, but we need brand ambassadors. And so even if you know someone in particular, that would be fantastic, to spread the word. And I mentioned testimonials as an area that we are lacking as far as our crowdfunding campaign. We have, like I said, a homemade video, and I think if we can get testimonials with a younger group. And when I said it's probably not safe, I meant for kids like, 10 and under, but teenagers obviously would be fine. But that would be super cool to get. And I think it's a talking piece too. I mean, imagine pulling up to the gas station with your buddies and you got this thing on. It's like, what is that? So spread the word of mouth.
It looks very nice. It's a very interesting design, and a lot of kids are gonna be like, I want that because it looks really clean. It has like a very, very like sort of retro design, like not retro, but at the same time, I don't know how to explain it. It looks really nice though.
Thank you.
And I know a lot of guys would really like that. And I actually know one of my friends growing up with, he rides a bike now. If you want, I could talk to him, probably spread the word and let him know about that. He'll probably try to check it out himself. He's really into bikes. Very cool.
Thank you. I have cards on the table. It's got a QR code that was to the crowdfund page, but now it's to our website. And then there's some information on there too about our social media and so I would really love for you guys to follow us. And if you have any, I'll try to follow up with the folks that that came up as well afterwards. Thanks.
I like this point because every mama wants their child to wear a helmet if they're gonna ride motorcycles. All right, Josh, we have 2 more questions. The first one, red or green?
So I'm a huge carne adobada fan, and I love green chili cheeseburgers, so it's really hard, but I have to go with red or adobada.
And what's the one thing this community can do for you today?
I've mentioned it a few times, but I'll mention again. I think just please follow us on social media, spread the word, LinkedIn as well. Connect with me on LinkedIn and spread the word to folks that you may know that can help out.
Give Josh a round of applause. Great job.